What's growing on, Marianas, and welcome back to another segment of Saipan Supplemental Gardening, where we share what we know so that you can grow your own fresh produce. This segment is about propagating by cuttings, and there are two types of cuttings you can get: hardwood or hard stem and soft stem. And I'm going to start off with the hard stem. Here I'm going to start with this one. A white hibiscus, and I'm going to pull the flower off because the plant doesn't need that, and I'll explain that in a bit. It doesn't want to come off. And then I'll just put it in my ear. Alright, so in order to plant a hard stem, the first thing you're going to need to do is cut off a 45-degree angle on the bottom of your stem where you're going to plant it. And the reason why you want to do that is you're exposing this little green cambium layer on the inside where the roots are going to be growing out to help your plant grow. Then you need to cut off the top leaves. And the reason why you do this, cutting off the leaves, cutting off the fruit, cutting off the flowers, is because the plant will stop sending energy to the leaves, the flowers, the fruit, and it will send energy down for roots to start growing. And I'm going to cut one more here. You want to leave 3 to 4 leaves on the top of your stem in order for it to grow. And I'm going to do that with the rest of my cuttings, and then I'll show you how to plant them. Again, I'm going to you can also take a longer stem and cut it into several pieces for you to grow. So I'm going to cut it right here. And again, angle it about 45 degrees at the end. And this is to remind you, this is the side that goes down into the dirt. Cut off your top leaves, leaving about 3 to 4. You want to get the biggest ones off. That looks good. And then for the stem, that's just a stem. Again, you want to make sure you angle the bottom, exposing the cambium layer, and more for yourself too, to remind you that's the part that goes into the soil. And you can leave the top straight. This one looks pretty good, so I'm going to leave it like that. Second one, cut it about here, about in half. Again, angle the bottom. Don't forget that. That's the most important part. And then I'm going to take the top too, so I'm going to cut off again the biggest leaves, leaving 3 or 4 on top. Please don't mind the chickens in the background. I think they want attention too. Alright. Another thing I wanted to point out, especially, let me get this one over here because it has better, it has more on it. If you look at your stem and you see these little leaves poking out at the different nodes, those are what are going to grow out to, once the plant starts rooting, those are going to grow out. And they'll come out looking like this. This is a hibiscus we did 3 weeks ago. And we just put them in the pot. And as you see, their leaves are growing all over the place. And you can also see in this pot that not everything grew. This one here didn't root. So it's a bad one. We'll throw that one out. Everything else, good to go. And I'll talk more about that later. Alright, so Get your container. Remember, we use these reusable ones and we put our little labels on them. Poked holes in the bottom. Fill it up. For this, you fill the cup all the way up. And then, like Vic showed in the last video, tap, tap, tap. Help the soil to settle. You don't want any air pockets in your soil. There's air pockets in the soil. When you water, the soil sinks down. And then your plants, most of the time, will shift. Pack it down. All right. And then, what we do is we use root one. We get this one at Ace Susupi, and no, we're not sponsored by them, but it is our favorite big box store to go to here on island because they have the best customer service. Shout out to Primo Andu, John, and Jamal, the best helper there. So you just open up your bottle, take your plant, your stem, just dip it in so it's covered a little bit, and then you stick it in the soil. And that's all you have to do. Dip it in, stick it in the soil. Very simple. You'll be amazed in a few weeks. Usually after about 5-6 days, you can start to see growth on your stems. Dip and stick. And that's it. That's all you have to do. You water it, put it in a shady place so that it has time to recover from moving it around and cutting it. And then after 2 weeks, fully ready. These will have roots. These all have roots on them already. And then refer back to the last video where Vic talks about the squish and split method. And that's all you have to do. Squish and split and plant them into new pots. And that is how you cut and dip hard stem plants in order to propagate them or make more. Now we're going to go into how to do soft stems, and I'm going to bring you over to my little garden bed so we can take suckers off of our tomato plant. We're here in my garden bed, and this is my white currant tomato, and we're going to grab a sucker off of this so that we can root it in a cup. Now if you look at the plant, down here you'll see a leaf coming out, and right in between it there is another stem coming out in the middle. This is called a sucker. You don't want suckers on your trees, because on your tomato plants, because they take up most of the energy, and if you want to grow more fruits, you want to get rid of those suckers. So I let them grow out to be this big, and then all you do is hold on to the branch and cut it right where it grew out. And then this is going to be planted and become a whole new tomato plant. Alright, now that we have our tomato sucker, the easiest way to do this, you cut off these bottom branches again, remembering to leave 3 to 4. So I'm going to leave the top 3. And all you have to do is stick it in a jar of water. Yeah. That's it. What's going to happen in about a week or so, this is a different tomato. This is a witchie's that we did last week. All along the bottom of the stem, roots grow out, and now this is ready to transplant. So I'm going to do that now. Again, cup for the witchies. Pour in about, I would say, 1/3 of the cup, because this is a lot of roots. And again, tap, tap, tap. Or push it down with your hands. Stick your plant in there. And you want to kind of spiral the roots so they're all in the bottom. And then fill it in with soil. Shake it up, tap, tap, tap. And now I like to push down the soil to make sure it's nice and firm in there. And generally I like to have it centered in the cup, but every now and then I'm a little off. But it's perfectly fine. And there you have it. Now if you notice, whenever we're putting soil in our cup, we always leave about ½ an inch of a gap from the top of the soil to the top of the cup. So when you're watering later on, you fill to the top of the cup and you let it drain. And that's all you have to do to grow your tomato plants. And the best thing about doing this is when you cut it off an existing tree and you replant it, the fruit that comes out from this will be the exact same fruit I got from the tree where I cut this off. It's called an exact clone. That's tomatoes. Another plant you can do is any soft stem plant like kamuti. I have some kamuti here that we did last week. As you can see, it has roots coming out all over the place. Once it has pretty strong roots, again, put it in the cup and you're good to go. Or you can transplant, especially kamuti, straight into the ground, whatever bed you're going to be growing it in. I love soil. Alright, the last one I'm going to do for today is this very cute variegated oregano. I love the smell of oregano, and oregano is a great plant for keeping mosquitoes away. Shout out to Bonnie for this beautiful variegated oregano. Now, soft stems, again, you can take a really long stem and you're just going to do it the same as you did with the hard stem. The 45-degree angle on the bottom, because you want to make sure that you remember to plant that into the soil. Another 45-degree angle up here. And then, again, taking off all the leaves. Now, when you're doing the part of the stem that is all leaves, you don't need to leave leaves on the top, but I generally leave 1 or 2 just so the plant knows it's not dead and that it still needs to produce energy. So I even take off these little suckers because those will regrow once the plant is ready. So I'm going to leave the top 2 on this one. And then for the section that's the top of the stem, taking off all the bottom leaves. And I'm going to leave those top 4. One more. You know, it's funny whenever I'm teaching somebody to do this, they think it's so brutal that I'm cutting off all the leaves. And I always say, when I first started doing this, I was scared too. I was like, oh my God, you're killing the plant. But no, you're not killing it. You're giving it space to provide energy to grow roots so that it can grow again. And whenever you're doing this, you are creating an exact clone of the plant that you got it from. Again, there we go, 4 leaves on the top. Now, just like we did with the hard stems, you pack that soil in, and with soft stems you don't need to use root one. Just stick them in there. Oops, I got dirt all over that one. It's okay. It'll still grow. Stick them in, water it, and then in about a week you'll start seeing new leaves coming off at the little nodes. And you have the exact same plant that you grew, that you got your cuttings from. And then I'm just going to talk real quick, real short about what Vic mentioned in the last video about black thumbs, because I kind of said something earlier that reminded me of it. When I was younger, I planted and planted and planted, and everything died, and I was like, oh my god, I have a black thumb. And then I met Vic, and he said there are no such things as black thumbs. What it is you don't know what you're doing. And he's so right. When you don't know what you're doing, you tend to kill the plant. But when you do know what you're doing, everything will thrive. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed our video. Please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll be seeing you on the next one. Stay safe, Marianas.